Is now a good time to buy a home? There are a ton of negative headlines in the news these days about the housing market, and that's because negativity sells, unfortunately. We live in a clickbait society, and you usually have to dig a little bit deeper for the truth. So in today's video, I'm going over why it may actually be an amazing time to buy a house. We're going to be talking about a brief market update on the Charleston area, and then what's going on in the minds of home sellers and builders right now so that you can get the best deal if you do decide to buy a home. My job is to give you the facts so that you can make an informed decision. Now you're probably thinking, great, here's another real estate agent who's just trying to tell me that it's a great time to buy. They always say that no matter how bad the market is. And you're probably right that some agents are like that. Again, my job is to just tell you what's going on so that you can decide if the time is now for you. For some people, it might make sense to wait it out a little bit, but for others, it truly is a great time to get into the market. And so keep watching because I'm going to explain all of that right now so that you can make a great decision. Let's get into it. Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm a realtor here in the Charleston, South Carolina area, and my team and I love helping people buy and sell real estate every single day. So if we can help you as well, we would be honored and thrilled to partner with you on your next real estate transaction. All of our contact information is pinned below in the comments and in the description. So whether you're moving in 9 days or 90 days, go ahead and give us a call, send us a text or an email, or better yet, set up a Zoom buyer consultation so we can meet each other virtually and go over the next steps and how we can be of service to you. Okay, so you've maybe seen some headlines that say that this is the slowest market we've had nationally since 2008. And while that may be true as far as the volume goes, that doesn't necessarily make it a bad time to buy. Let's talk about why it's the slowest market. First of all is seasonality. So right now, at the time of this recording, it's around the holiday season, and people who aren't serious buyers are not going to be shopping for homes during the holidays. People are making plans for Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. They just spent all this time with Thanksgiving and prepping all the food, holiday shopping, Black Friday, getting the decorations ready. There's so much going on in the holidays, and unless you really need to buy or sell, you're going to put it off until the next year when you have more time and space available in your schedule and your more day-to-day activities. So every year, it's the same thing during the mid-November to end of December timeline, where only the most serious shoppers are out as far as buyers go. But come January, things start to tick back up. More people jump back into the market. So this is the best time of year to buy as far as competition goes. If you don't want to be competing on multiple offers or you want to get the best deal, there are some sellers right now that are very motivated. The showings are down, and so they're going to be willing to work with you because there's not a bunch of other people that are shopping right now. So it's a really good time to buy from that perspective. Next, let's briefly chat about interest rates. So interest rates hit a high of around 8% in mid-November. We have seen the fastest rise in interest rates over the last year since the 1980s. Rates more than doubled. So it's been very stressful for home buyers who are quickly seeing that monthly payment go up. Now we have seen a dip back down to about the mid 7%, and only time will tell when rates will drop. Most people believe that rates will drop. A lot of people say maybe mid 2024, maybe not till 2025. So there is a lot of debate on that topic. But one thing we know is that interest rates always fluctuate, but housing prices are going up. So if you can afford to buy now, it makes more sense because you are getting in at a lower cost of the home versus a year from now, the house is going to appreciate maybe a few percent, maybe a lot more than that. In some areas of Charleston have gone up 10% or more in just the last year. So if you get in now, you're going to be paying less for the home itself. We're going to talk a little bit more about the cost of waiting at the end of the video, but I just want to highlight here that you are not stuck with your interest rate forever. Now, I am not saying that you should overextend yourself and be house poor and have a very tight budget every single month just to make your mortgage payment. That is not the position I want you to be in, and I am not advising that. I'm just saying that if you can afford to buy at the rates today, it does make a lot of sense because you have less competition, you could get a really good deal on a home, and you can always refinance your loan later. We're going to talk a little bit more about that too in just a moment. Now I want to talk about home sellers and their motivations. A lot of them are super motivated right now because, again, they're getting less showings than before. In our Tri-County area here, year over year, the number of closings is down about 18%, and the days on market has essentially doubled from 18 days to 35 days. Now, before COVID, it was typical to have a days on market hovering around 2 months, so we're still not back to that yet. But compared to what it was a couple years ago with just a couple of days on market, some sellers have just not quite caught up to the fact yet that the market has drastically shifted. And those are not the best sellers to be negotiating with right now because they still are hanging on to these pie in the sky numbers about what they think their home is worth, and some of them are really not willing to come down. However, some of them really are willing to negotiate. They want to make it work, and they're offering a lot of incentives to the best of their ability. I've seen a lot of sellers who are willing to negotiate on the price. So a year ago, we were at 100% as far as the listing price to the sales price, meaning sellers were putting the house on the market and whatever they listed it for, they were usually getting that full amount. And now it's about 98%. So on our median priced home here in Charleston, which right now is about $415,000, that 2% difference is $8,300. Now, of course, this is just an average and an example, but if you can negotiate the price of the house down about 2%, that's on the median price home going to save you $8,000 on the price, which is a big win, especially compared to the past market of the few years where you were having to go over asking price in the majority of home sales. Some sellers are also offering closing costs. So for example, it could be a flat rate, like they're going to give you $5,000 as an example for your closing costs, which means that's less money that you have to bring to the table in cash when you go to close. Again, that's a really big win. Some sellers are offering rate buy downs as well. A really common one we're seeing is the 2-1 buy down, where the seller is buying down your interest rate. So for the first year, you're getting an interest rate that's 2% below whatever the market rate is. So let's say your interest rate is going to be 7.5%. Your first year is only going to be 5.5%. And then your second year goes up to 6.5%. And then at year 3, it resets to your normal 7.5%. So those first 2 years, you have a lower mortgage payment. It helps you get in the door of the home now instead of having to wait, and get to save some of your cash. Now, this is different than buying points. When you buy points, that's something you're paying for out of pocket to the lender to buy your rate down. The 2-1 buy down is something that only the seller can pay for, and it buys down your rate in the way that I just explained. Now, the hope is that when those 2 years are up, or maybe even before, that you could refinance into a lower rate so that you never have to actually pay that 7.5%. You can't bank on that being the case, and the lender is going to qualify you based on the full interest rate. But there seems to be a pretty good chance that rates are going to drop back into the 6s, maybe even lower in the next 2 years. So there's a pretty good chance that you would be able to refinance the loan in the next couple of years. Another way you can get relief in the beginning years of your loan that I've seen a lot of people do these days is called an ARM loan. This is an adjustable rate mortgage and something that you can talk to your mortgage lender about. This is where your rate is locked into something lower, could be in the 5%, maybe the 6%, for a certain amount of time. usually 3 years, 5 years, or 7 years. So a 5-year ARM, for example, would lock you into a rate, let's just say 6.5% for the next 5 years. Again, this gives you some payment relief in these first 5 years. Now, adjustable rate means that after those 5 years are up, that your rate can go up. It just depends on what's going on in the market of what the rate goes to, but there are caps on how much at one time the rate can go up. And again, the idea is that you would very likely be refinancing between now and then so that you never have to go into the adjustable rates, and you could actually refinance into a 30-year fixed loan at a lower rate. So yes, there is some inherent risk in this, but personally, if I was buying a home today, I would very, very, very strongly consider an ARM loan. I just think it makes sense, especially in Charleston, where homes are appreciating so much and seem like they will likely continue that trajectory in the coming years. It seems like refinancing is going to be possible in the next 5 years. It's a bet I'm personally willing to take, but again, you have to do what you're most comfortable with. If you're a super conservative person, then you might not be comfortable with the ARMs, but I just wanted to mention it as an option. As a quick side note, I want to say that these ARM loans are very different than the ARM loans that contributed to the housing crash in 2008. Those loans are based on subprime lending. They didn't qualify people, they just handed them out. And they also had super high caps, so the rate would change dramatically instead of a lower cap where the rate is going to go up more incrementally. So it was a really bad combination, and that is not what is happening in the ARM loans of the 2020s. Also, a lot of lenders are offering a free refinance down the road. So if you are to get whatever loan you choose to get with them and rates drop in the next couple of years, a lot of them are offering the benefit of the free refinance instead of having to pay for the refinance like you normally would. So again, this can save you money down the line and really be a no-brainer when the time comes. Finally, I want to touch on assumable mortgages. This seems to be a buzzword these days. You're reading the description of a home that you're browsing. It may say, buyers, attention, you can assume this interest rate at 3.5%, and it sounds amazing. And it very well might be amazing. Certain VA loans and FHA loans are actually assumable. So that means that you are taking on the loan total at their current interest rate. So if that seller happens to have a rate in the 2s or 3s or 4s, obviously that's going to be very enticing. And if you can make that work, that is going to be an amazing deal. Now, you still have to qualify for that loan with that particular lender in order to take over the payments. And I will say that this can be a very painstaking process depending on who holds the loan. I'm currently working with a friend of mine who is trying to get this done with a buyer, and I feel like it's going to take months and months and months to actually get this done, if we even can at all. Now, they might not all be that way, so it could be more on a case-by-case basis, but the most challenging part about the assumable mortgages is coming up with the down payment. So the current seller has a loan on their home. Let's just say the loan is $300,000. But let's say their home is currently worth $500,000, and that's what you're going to be buying it for. That's a $200,000 gap between the loan and the purchase price, and that is something that you're going to have to come up with and bring to the table in cash. Of course, a lot of people don't have that kind of money, but one potential way around this is that some people actually get a second mortgage that allows them to finance that $200,000 into another loan at a higher interest rate. So if you can qualify for 2 mortgages, then it could be a good way to do it, but it's just not going to work in every case. Next, I want to touch on builders who are offering amazing incentives right now. I talk about builders in a lot of videos because they really do offer such exciting price discounts and cash towards closing and lower interest rates. A lot of the big name builders also own their own mortgage company, so they are able to offer lower rates than what you can find on the resale market. They also often give you money towards your closing costs, for example, $5,000 or maybe even $10,000 towards your closing, which again is less cash that you personally have to bring to the table. As an example, D.R. Horton right now has some homes that qualify for an interest rate as low as 4.99%. Some of them qualify for 5.75%, which is still very low relative to market rates. And by the way, that's on a fixed 30-year mortgage, not an ARM. And they're giving you closing costs and they're discounting the home itself. So you put that all together and it is really a ton of savings. Now, some of these homes do need to close by the end of the year. So it'd be a very quick 3 to 4 week turnaround depending on when you actually go under contract. But if you are ready to go and you're ready to get a good deal, a lot of builders' fiscal year ends in December and they're wanting to finish the year strong. Now, some builders' fiscal year actually ends in October or November, so they've already done the biggest price discounts that they were going to do this year, the last couple of months, but they're still wanting to get homes sold, obviously, and start their new fiscal year off strong, so they're still offering great incentives. Now, not all of the homes that they're offering these great deals on need to close by the end of the year. Some are January, February, or March closings, and they're still getting great incentives. So if this is of interest to you, please reach out to me. I know a lot about the local builders here and the different incentives they have, and I can help you move into a new home very quickly with a great deal if that's something that works for you. Now I want to talk about what's going to happen once rates go down. Right now, you would not believe the number of people who are on the sidelines waiting for interest rates to drop. Perhaps they're priced out of the market and they just simply can't afford to buy, or some people can afford to buy, but on principle, they just don't want to pay the higher rate because they think it's outrageous. Or a lot of people are in the position where they own a home currently and they're locked into a low rate. For example, 83% of mortgage holders right now have an interest rate below 5%. So when they do the math and they really do want to move, but when they put it all down on paper, they realize that at the higher interest rate right now, it just doesn't make financial sense for them. They're waiting. And as soon as rates drop, they're going to want to put their house on the market, but they're also going to be buying a new house. They're not just selling, they're also a buyer. So the demand is pretty pent up right now, where as soon as rates drop, especially I believe to about the mid fives is going to be the tipping point. And then it's going to be a major frenzy all over again, just like it was a couple years ago with multiple offers and homes only being available for a couple of days, and that very highly stressful situation that a lot of buyers found themselves in a couple of years ago at the height of the housing market. So if you don't want to find yourself in that highly competitive situation, then again, now is a much better time to buy, where you don't have to be so reactive and so quick moving and urgent about things. You actually have time to think through this very big decision and have time to look at the homes and even negotiate some items, unlike the position that you're in when it goes back to a high seller's market. Now, I don't know if this is going to happen all over the country. Every market is different. All I can speak to is Charleston. That's the market I know and work in. And there are still so many people moving here with a ton of pent-up demand. There were a lot of people who decided to bow out of the competitiveness a couple years ago and just wanted to wait until things cooled off to buy because it was just too stressful to deal with the multiple offer situation. And I totally get that. However, a lot of those people have now regretted making that decision because here they are a couple of years later, still paying rent, having not built any equity, and now the rates have gone up, and so they don't want to buy now, but then they don't want to buy in the competitive market that is likely coming our way in the future. So they're just in this tough position. Now, some people are saying, Sarah, if rates are coming down, shouldn't I wait to buy? My monthly payment is going to be lower, so why on earth would I buy now? Well, I've already gone over a lot of that in the video today, talking about how things are less competitive and how you can still get a good deal and how you can refinance in the future. But I do want to touch even further on this topic of the cost of waiting. As I said earlier, interest rates fluctuate, but home prices are continuing to appreciate again, at least here in Charleston. So as an example, let's say that you buy a house today for $500,000. In a year from now, if you buy that same house and it appreciates 5%, which is very probable in certain parts here in the Charleston area, that exact same home is going to be $525,000. So you're having to finance a bigger mortgage a year from now, and your closing costs also go up because the higher the price of the home, the higher your percentage of closing costs and the bigger down payment you need to bring to the table. So in just a year from now, if you wait, that's a few thousand extra dollars you have to have in cash to bring towards your closing. The monthly payment difference from the reduced interest rate is likely a couple $100s, roughly speaking. A lot of variables go into that. So yes, you're paying a little bit more in the short term for your interest rate, but in the long term, you're arguably spending more because your closing costs go up, the price of the home goes up, your property taxes go up, and you're not building equity. So if you're in a renting position right now, all of that money is going to your landlord, versus when you buy, you are creating a strong financial foundation by getting that appreciation sooner than later. Now, if you want to see some really amazing examples of what this looks like in concrete numbers, send me a message and I will send you the links to a couple of great Instagram reels that some lenders I know have done that clearly outline the hard numbers on the purchase of buying now versus waiting 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, or 2 years. And they show you column by column the different costs. And it really will blow your mind to see that sometimes it really doesn't make sense to wait, even if the interest rate is a little bit higher now. Once again, I'm not saying that you should just buy willy-nilly. This is a big decision and it doesn't make sense for everybody, but it might make sense for you. And hopefully this video is helping you think through things a little bit deeper than just saying, oh, interest rates are too high, I'll wait. That might be true, but unless you really take a deeper look at things, I just don't think blowing off the decision to say that rates are too high is necessarily accurate until you really do the math. I recommend talking to a lender so they can go through the different options with you and you can really see what this looks like and if it makes sense for you. I also think talking to a real estate agent about your situation is really helpful, especially if you have a home to sell as well. It can feel like a big puzzle. So feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to talk to you about a couple of different options to see what makes sense for you given your goals and needs. Every single person, every single transaction is different. There's no right or wrong or one cookie cutter solution to everybody's situation. That's why you should definitely reach out to your trusted advisors and come up with a plan that makes the most sense and feels the best for you. Overall, I do believe that if you are planning to buy a primary residence and stay there for at least 3 years, ideally even 5 or more, then you're going to have made a really smart investment to buy the home now. After that amount of time, you should have enough appreciation and payment on your mortgage principal to be in a better financial position than you are today. If you're planning to buy now and sell next year, probably doesn't make that much sense because you have other costs associated with buying and selling. So you don't want to buy a home and sell it in the short term in a typical market. So I hope you found all of this information really helpful. If you did, leave a comment below. I'd love to know your thoughts. And go ahead and like the video and subscribe to the channel so that you can be the first one to know about all things Charleston. If you would like my team and I to assist you with your buying and selling, go ahead and contact us. All of the information is pinned below. And we really look forward to partnering with you and earning your business. Make sure you check out the other videos on the channel to keep learning about all things Charleston, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.